Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Janine. I'm a travel physical therapist and I help people get into PT school, or I help people with the process of getting into PT school. So, today I want to talk about the process of applying and getting accepted into PT school, my biggest tips, and yeah. And so, the first thing, ideally, breaking it down into 3 steps, right? Improving your grades, focusing on getting good grades, because let's be real, everyone talks about it's very competitive to get into PT school. You have to have the top 5% of grades or whatever. The second thing is building your resume. So by this I mean building, like adding all the extra things that you're gonna say that you did. That's gonna look good on the application to help you get accepted. And the last thing ideally is the interview, which I'm gonna talk about the interview in depth in a different video, but let's just say, like, not just the interview, but like the process of the essays and all that stuff. And the GRE, all of that. So the first thing is grades, right? And so when I was going through this process, my first semester I didn't even have a 3.0. And even just getting used to the transition of grad school, or I should say undergrad versus high school, it's a hard transition, right? And so it can turn a lot of people off if they don't adjust well for their first semester, and then they hear all these things like it's so competitive to get into PT school, and it can often turn them off from even thinking that they can do it. But I'm a good example. You certainly can. And they don't just look at the overall grade at graduation. They look at each semester, and if you've grown and shown that, like, maybe you didn't do so good, but you over the years you improved your grades, and the last few years you were like super strong, they're gonna see that growth and that improvement, and that's gonna look good as well. So don't be super afraid of that. There's always time to change things around. So, in terms of getting good grades, I would suggest you to become an effective studier. And by this, I mean you want to make sure your study sessions are very effective and not so time consuming, right? Because you want to ideally leave more time to do other things. So if you can get down this method, it's going to save you so much stress and time. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you understand the concepts. Not just, I used to like copy the PowerPoints to flashcards and then whatever. Flashcards can be okay when it comes to like definitions, or maybe at the end of you're studying when you can't seem to remember certain things, you can use flashcards then. But I would suggest not copying things over. Really spend the time to read through the materials, the PowerPoints. If you get PowerPoints, then also refer to textbooks, refer to the internet, refer to videos online, like multiple different resources, not just one. It's gonna kind of help fill in the gaps. You wanna make sure that you understand the concepts first, and then you're gonna write your outline. So then you're gonna write your outline, but you're gonna be actively thinking while you're doing this, which is gonna help you absorb and sink in the information. Once you get your outline, then you wanna pretend like you're teaching the class pretty much. Like, you could teach the plant, you could teach the wall, you could teach your pillow, you could teach your roommate, whatever, it doesn't matter, but you want to actually speak these topics out loud and pretend like you're presenting this material to someone or something, because when you teach it and speak it out loud, that's what's really going to help you not only remember it, but be able to apply it and make connections between topics. And once you do that, don't just stop there, but make sure you're checking your material, because you don't want to be saying the wrong thing. You want to make sure you say something and then you refer back to your notes and you check it and make sure it's accurate, right? And so then you can kind of get an idea while you're doing that for like what things might be sticking a little bit better than others. And then you want to reevaluate your time. So now maybe you've got certain things down and you're just gonna revisit those every now and then, but you're gonna focus a little bit more now on the things that you don't know as well. I also want to make the point that you want to make sure your study sessions, you're studying at a really good time for you. So, I remember undergrad is so hard because there's so much going on, and it's kind of inevitable to be tired. But think about for you what time of day you're the sharpest. For me, it's right in the morning. So I would get up and I would spend my first half of my morning or whatever, maybe an hour. I knew that my brain was gonna be the most active then, and I got so much more done than I did if I was trying to study at the end of a long day and I was just kind of like, when you're reading a book when you're tired and you just kind of have to keep reading the sentences because your brain is just not having it. Avoid studying when your brain is in times like that because you're just wasting your own time, Instead, don't be afraid to take the time to rest and recover, and that's going to essentially save you time in the long run, because if you have more effective study sessions, then you're not going to have to study as long. And who wants to study for long hours, And so once you get that down, you're going to really free yourself up a lot more time to do other things. And so I talk about this on my TikTok, but you want to make sure you're becoming like a go-getter essentially, right? These opportunities are not just going to come to you. I will say, if you're taking the time to become a better student, more things will fall into your lap than not. But, and for example, like I remember I studied really hard for anatomy, and when I went to my professor's office hours to ask him if I could teach the supplemental instruction class for his class, he looked up my grades and was like, "Oh, you do really well." And so you see what I mean? It is kind of connected, but it's not necessary. So you want to seek out opportunities. Look what's around you. Even if there isn't something there or an opportunity there, you can always create something, right? And so don't be afraid to walk into a place and be like, I want to become a tutor. Here's my name. Here's my grade, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to just wait for things to come to you. Be a go-getter. Go seek out people in your class that may be involved in a club that you want to be involved in and ask if you can join. Make these opportunities happen for yourself. And so some examples of some things that I did: I was a tutor, I was a TA for a couple different classes, I was a supplemental instruction leader for anatomy, which essentially was like I held extra help classes for that. I got paid for it too. I did a lot of research with different professors. I always was going to my teacher's office hours to ask questions, which led to letters of recommendation. I was in the orchestra. I did things like, don't be afraid to also just do what other people are doing. Join an orchestra if you like music. Do things that are also unique to yourself. Have a good mix of like things that might be a PT or academic specific, but then add in fun stuff too. Because now looking back, like as a practicing PT, those little quirks about me, like music, fishing, all these fun things are what really helped me connect with a professor or with my patients. Being involved in the PT club, being the president of the PT club doesn't really get you far in real life, right? Like those things are what's going to make you be unique and stand apart from the crowd. And also when you're in your interviews and your essays, having things to talk about that you're really passionate about, it shows that passion and that sparkle, and the people interviewing you or in the interview process will likely remember you more. Trust me. And so that brings us to the last part of like the GRE. So let's just touch on the GRE. I would say you don't have to shoot for the stars there. Honestly, you do your vocab, do the review book, but pretty much like an average score is fine as long as you shine in other areas. The essay, the supplemental information, and the interview. With this, I want to say, like, throughout this whole process, you want to make sure you're doing things to build your confidence, right? So like putting yourself first, putting your health and your nutrition, your exercise, putting all that first is gonna like help you feel better about yourself and be more confident. But then also doing little things here and there, like setting small goals for yourself that are achievable. And when you achieve them, it makes you feel better about yourself. You feel this sense of confidence that you can actually do things that you set out to do. And so those small things are gonna snowball into bigger things. Putting yourself outside of your comfort zone, doing positive affirmations, meditation, whatever it might be for you to build your confidence through that entire process is gonna really set you to an advantage when you are in your interview and your supplemental parts, because you're essentially asking for these people to believe in you. How are they going to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself? So it's so important. So important. And I'm going to make an entire video on the interview process, so just stay tuned for that. But throughout this whole process, I think I kept like a little notepad or maybe a notes app in my phone. But anytime I was faced with a challenge, or like I was supposed to, like I had a successful thing, I wrote down what happened and then how it made me feel, or how it is going to help me in future life. And those little things that you might not have remembered or thought about, that's what's going to help you be able to talk about those extra things in your essays and your interviews. And so it's pretty simple when you break it down like that. But I will say it seems more impossible than it actually is. It is 100% doable. And if you just stay focused, believe in yourself, stay true to your passions and your dreams, then you're going to make it happen for you. I promise. Okay.